That special guest is Dr. George Yancopoulos, the president, co-founder, and chief scientific officer of Regeneron. George, it's good to see you this morning. New data from a 4,500-person phase 3 trial on your antibody drug for COVID. We already knew the drug worked, but tell us what the new data this morning show.
Hey, Meg, first of all, it's great to be on, especially with good news that could be really big news. First of all, I think we have to point out that we're all hoping widespread vaccination will increasingly get this pandemic under control. But we can't forget about the people who are getting infected every day and at risk for progressing to severe disease, hospitalization, and death. It's still 1 to 2 million people a month, with tens of thousands dying every month. And the vaccine is too late for these people. And of course, with concerns about emerging variants, which could undermine vaccine efficacy, and already seeing secondary infections with these emerging variants in vulnerable populations, we need a treatment for the people who are already getting infected, for whom the vaccine is too late. And that's what our study addressed. And that's why I think our news is so important. It's the largest phase 3 study of its kind that tested our Regeneron antibody cocktail, showing it can reduce the risk of hospitalization and death in people who are already infected and at high risk by over 70%. And moreover, for the broader population, shorten the duration of symptoms for these patients, and all at a lower dose. And very importantly, just last week, the FDA updated its fact sheets on all the authorized antibody treatments, saying that ours is the only one retaining its activity against the most dangerous emerging variants. So altogether, this is really big news for the people who are getting sick now, who have a high risk of progressing to hospitalization and death. There's now a very effective treatment. And just as importantly, by showing that our low dose works, we now have the supply chain to treat almost all the high-risk patients who need it every month. This is really big news. This can really make a big difference for all the people who are still getting infected and still at a risk for hospitalization and death.
But it'll only make a difference if those patients can get the drug and get it quickly enough after diagnosis. How has that situation changed in the last few months? You know, we heard from CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky just before inauguration that in her experience at the Mass General, it was just too hard to get these antibody drugs to many people. And she said they're good drugs, but they're not a panacea. Can that be improved? Is it being improved? Are enough people getting access?
Well, I think the data now suggests that they should be viewed as a panacea. That's the first thing. We needed to get great data that would provide enormous confidence. Another thing that was undermining the confidence with these antibody treatments was concerns that many of them were losing efficacy against these emerging variants. So I think getting compelling data to change the degree of confidence, to point out that this is what we must be doing, this is what the standard of care should be, and making it an imperative. It really is a moral imperative. We now have the drug supply. A few months ago, we did not have the drug supply. All these things were undermining people's confidence in is this a useful approach? We now have the drug supply. We now have the data. I think the data compellingly says that every high-risk infected patient should be getting this drug. And it's up to the Mass General, frankly. It's up to all the doctors. It's up to the states and up to the governments. We have the drug. We have the data. We could be saving tens of thousands of people from hospitalization and death every month. As a society, we have to figure out how to make it work.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.